Hello Internet, welcome back to Tromsø Twilight, the channel where I, Vincent, talk to you, the Abyss, about books, movies, music I enjoy, find interesting, or a combination of the two. And today I would like to talk about Sarah Moss's 2018 novel, Ghost Wall. I say novel, maybe novella, it's quite a short book, but very, very interesting, arresting, well written, and thought-provoking. I'd like to give a little short review or discussion of the book while refraining from giving any major spoilers in case you have not read it. I know pretty much nothing about Sarah Moss, but she's been around for a while. She has published a book that is a kind of travel memoir about her time in Iceland, I see in the back of the book. This is the first thing I've read by her. It's a story about a girl called Sylvie who is with her mother and father on an expedition being run by a professor of experimental archaeology in the north of England. Experimental archaeology is an academic discipline where people attempt to recreate or live out aspects of the past as well as doing the normal archaeological work of digging and finding artifacts and such like. I remember there's a guy in Herzog's film about cave paintings who is sort of dressed in a fur outfit and playing a replica of an old Stone Age flute. And the guy in this book, the professor in this book, Jim, he's a bit in that tradition. So he's set up a kind of camp in the marshes or the moorland of the north of England, and he's invited three students, two guys and one woman, young people called Pete, Dan and Molly, with him. And Sylvie, the main character, the narrator, her father is a bus driver with a very focused interest in the Stone Age of the United Kingdom of England. He corresponds with academics and such because he does a lot of his own research. He walks a lot on the hills and the mountains, and he is a kind of layman with a lot of local knowledge. So Professor Jim has invited this guy, I believe if I remember right, he's called George, with his family, and Sylvie, the teenage daughter, has joined them. This is an area of the UK where artifacts are often found preserved in peat marshes, in bogs, including they've found whole human remains from the Stone Age that, because of the particular chemical makeup of the bog marsh, mud and water, do not decay in the same way as things do when they're buried in normal soil. There is a theory that people were kind of sacrificed by being put into the marshland, into the bogs, as well as votive objects that were thrown in. So this group are out there trying to live the life of the hunter-gatherers, the foragers of the region. They're wearing clothes that are designed to echo clothes of the Stone Age. They're trying to gather and prepare all their food using Stone Age implements. Now, there's a degree of irony about this because obviously there's a shop just down the road. They also can't go hunting and the wildlife of the region is not the same, but perhaps they can trap rabbits, for example. Now, Sylvie is there basically because her father is an extremely dominant, abusive patriarch in the family, and he's decided she should be there because he decides basically everything. She's not allowed to work, she's not allowed to do anything, go anywhere, socialize. So to her, meeting these three academics, these three students, is a complete revelation. And particularly Molly, the girl among the three students who wants to work in museums and has taken experimental archaeology basically as an extra credit course and doesn't take it particularly seriously, whilst Sylvie is used to her father who takes everything extremely seriously. So Sylvie finds all these three people kind of interesting, but Molly is particularly interesting to her. She's maybe never met a girl who's so kind of carefree and unafraid, and she definitely finds her quite attractive in a way that she finds intimidating but also fascinating. And Molly also seems to really like Sylvie, but there's a lot of differences between them, both in their background, in their upbringing, but also in their social class. So Sylvie is confronted for the first time with people from another part of the country, the south, who don't know anything about Manchester and the north, who find the accents amusing, who make a lot of assumptions about what might be possible in a life, whereas Molly only has ever really dreamed of just getting away. I won't say much more about how the narrative develops, except to say that I think the book staging many things, but amongst other things, it's definitely staging the kind of patriarchal culture of the United Kingdom, especially at the time. It's set, I think, in the early 80s. It's set in my childhood, though the characters are 10, 12 years older than me. And I remember the kind of macho, sexist assumptions that were just absolutely unquestioned at this time in Britain. So you have, the professor Jim, who is apparently, an educated guy coming from outside with ostensibly quite liberal ideas compared to Sylvie's father, but who doesn't seem remotely concerned about the way Sylvie's father behaves towards Sylvie's mother and, his own daughter. And the way that this develops in the book is very interesting. Another theme in the book is how certain types of knowledge are less valued in some way than others. So Sylvie has enormous amounts of local, unacademic knowledge about the plants of the region, about the landscape. Her father knows a great deal about the history of the region, whereas they are still considered kind of ignorant in some way because they are not academically trained. Another theme is how the past is a sort of fantasy for us. Like, especially for Sylvie's father, he is quite clearly a racist, like a white supremacist, far right, anti-immigration guy. And for him, the Stone Age represents a sort of perfect time, a perfect pre-colonial United Kingdom before the Romans, before other waves of immigration, and he comes into a certain amount of conflict with the professor, who knows that the original Brits, if there were any, were Celts, so they were more maybe Irish, and that most of what we think of as the Britons originally came from France. And these are things that George is not really prepared to hear. The book is written in the first person, and Sylvie's voice is very easy to connect with. You get the impression that she's telling this story from many years removed, that she's remembering the story, so she has an understanding of some of the irony and some of the pain that she maybe didn't understand wholly at the time it was happening. It's a book about class, it's a book about gender, it's a book about power, it's a book about imagination, and it's ultimately quite disturbing, but also a very warm novel, and I definitely recommend it. If you haven't read it, check it out. If you have read it, let me know what you thought about it. If you didn't like it, I'm always interested to hear that too. I hope you enjoyed my discussion of Ghost Wall, and I'll speak to you again soon.